Welcome back, guys. Another podcast with the Freedom Broners.
Yay!
What is this, number 4 now?
I don't know.
I don't
5,
know what it is.
6, 7?
We've done so many.
Who knows? We're still editing. We're so busy with our lives. But I guess the topic today is pretty much what individualism, collectivism, and then
This tribalism that's
Tribalism.
occurring in our political realm.
Yeah.
The ridiculousness of it all. People are stupid. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we can start with what got me on this topic. I was messing around on Twitter and one of the anti-Trump accounts I follow on there, along with today, what's that dude's name, Krasenstein or something? One of the Hill reporter brothers made a the first one, it was a poll, and it said I will support the Democratic nominee regardless of who they choose, and it was yes or no, and I think I got 400 or 500 votes. It was 92% yes.
No matter who it was.
Yeah, no matter who the Democrats nominated, they would vote. They were vowing to vote for him. And then what the Krasenstein or whatever the dude's name was, today he said a similar thing. He said that who here is willing to here we go. Brian Krasenstein, I pledge to vote for whoever the Democratic nominee ends up being, whether it's Bernie or Harris or Beto or Biden or Warren or anyone else. Anyone is better than Trump. Do you pledge the same? And everyone's like, oh, yes, yeah, of course. Anything's better than Trump. But I pose this question to them. What if the Democratic nominee is literally Hitler? Then what? Why are you going to pledge to blindly follow a group?
Yeah.
Why would you not look at who's running, look at the nominees, make a decision based off your values and who you feel is going to uphold your values the best?
I mean, she's the same thing. I mean, I watched a video by Mark Levin on CRTV back during the midterm elections, right before them, and he told everyone, he's like, you got to get out, do your duty, and vote for a Republican. It doesn't matter what they say, we have to win.
Yeah.
And this is someone, I respect Mark Levin a lot, but doesn't it kind of doesn't it destroy the point if we're just voting along party lines to win?
Yeah. Yeah, just so your party continues to hold powers, so that you hope they vote the direction you want. But, I mean, we've seen that just because somebody's Republican or just because somebody's labeled a Democrat doesn't necessarily mean they fall into that category, you know?
Yeah. I think that's what we were talking about on Friday, just the sheer impact of what independent parties can do now. Shedding that two-wall barrier. I have to go this or this. I have to pick A or B door type thing. And once you get those independents coming through and there is no title attached to them, that's when their actual objectives are shown. And you're like, okay, I am going to vote for that guy because all my views that I base on, he agrees with and is trying to push for that agenda. So no matter what party, even if it was a Democratic Party, I would vote for it if a majority of my points of views were the same, whether it was Democratic or Republican. And like I said, it seems like right now the loudest groups that you are hearing is literally the far left or the far right. There is no centrist right now. It's just super quiet. I don't know.
I think, I should see if I can find a graphic of it that I'll put in, of course, giving myself more work. But Matt Kibbe's the way he defines, instead of left and right, it's top and bottom to freedom and less freedom, or least freedom. So at the bottom, where you'd have the leftists we look at left as like socialism, communism, or communism, socialism, and then like keeps going along to like moderate leftism and across to the right. And then on the far right, they put fascism and nationalism, nationalistic fascism. Because nationalism, we need to define what we mean by nationalism too. Mm-hmm. Because when you look at like the dictionary definition of nationalism, unless Google's changed it, it's just having pride in your country. Now, when you're nationalist to the point where you will do anything for your country, then it becomes extreme. But anyway, this left and right spectrum, where he puts communism, socialism, fascism on the bottom, all these isms on the bottom that tell you, what you have to do, and then like anarchy's on the top, where there's no government at all. It's complete freedom to do whatever you want. And so I think it's a much better scale than left and right, where it's freedom or not free or not free.
Yeah. Well, and I see this in the future. I don't think you'll have Democrats and Republicans. I think it's going to turn into more libertarians and socialists. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a fight between the libertarians and the socialists, with the independents somewhere in between.
I care about Matt Kibbe's tattoos.
I care about them. Then did he go? So that's where I don't think we're ever going to be able to shed this system where people are in parties because they get a lot of help from their parties, and when you get a lot of help, you tend to get elected. The money, and then once you're elected, you're in, and it's all about name recognition and having the right letter next to your name. Because that's why they say the incumbent, because the incumbent tends to be the one who wins because people recognize the name. And
so here we got liberty and cooperation and totalitarianism on the bottom.
Okay.
So he's got two circles, coercion and persuasion. And so you've got, going down towards coercion, down towards the bottom on the right-hand side of it, nationalism, fascism, theocracy, Islamofascism, Nazism, then down to totalitarianism on the bottom. On the left-hand side of it, social engineering, progressivism, scientism, eugenics, dictatorship of the proletariat, socialism, communism, and then down to totalitarianism. And then on the top of the top circle, you've got constitutional republic on the right-hand side, constitutional conservative, classical liberals, libertarians, and on the left-hand side, direct democracy, democracies, civil libertarians, and libertines. So it's a much better, freedom versus totalitarianism. I think it's a better way to
describe it.
To lay it out.
Yeah.
But anyway, went on a tangent. What were we talking about?
I was talking about the party system and how I don't really think we're ever going to be able to shed the party.
Oh yeah.
Because there's always going to be parties that are vying for power, and they are providing assistance to people to run for their party. And when you have the assistance, when you have financial backing, that can provide you marketing and just all the means that you need to get elected, everything. And then once you get elected, it's a lot easier.
Endless resources is what you're trying to say. When you're in a big party,
bigger, but they have a larger
single-handedly
amount of. If you try to run as an independent, you're doing it by yourself.
Yeah,
because nobody wants independence.
I agree with that.
So it would be nice if people were judged simply on their policy alone, I would like that very much.
It makes it too easy. Can you hear me?
Oh, I think so, yeah.
It makes it too easy for people who are voting who can just be like, oh, I'm a Democrat or oh, I'm a Republican, so I'm just going to vote for this person no matter what.
Yeah.
I don't actually know, and half of them don't even know what their own ideological standpoints are.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a perfect like example of this deferral of responsibility.
Yeah.
Because if you're a Republican, it's easy to be a Republican and vote Republican. It's easy to be Democrat and always vote Democrat.
Yes.
It gets rid of you. You're no longer responsible for the vote. You don't have
You're getting
to
rid
look.
of your personal responsibility.
You don't have to
Just
look
to vote for
into
something.
what
Yeah.
these people, their policies are. You don't have to explore anything because they're. What are you doing?
Joking.
It gets rid of any accountability on your own
Yeah.
self.
Was that the seltzer water one? Pretty good.
Yes, not bad. Put some lemon in it.
Yeah.
Doesn't even taste like you're drinking alcohol.
Oh, yeah. I can get in trouble with that.
So, I'm not a pussy. I'm doing a keto diet, so I can't have carbs, so I can't drink beer. So I'm drinking vodka.
It's wide open, too. He ain't no little tight little thing.
Please. Alright, anyway. Back to what we were talking about.
I think what we were talking about on Friday is like I think I'm a prime example with like the public school system and the liberal side of being raised by people that I interested in. You know, my professors and teachers and even my faculty. You know, that principal, you know, vice principal and all them. Definitely, you could tell they were left leaning in their views, and then the way they reacted and treated us. And then until I got out of high school, that's when I started taking it upon myself to be the whole thing of being responsible for my own decisions, right? Growing up, just always told this, right? This is right, this is right, this is right, that is wrong.
Exactly.
And then once I got out of that social norm of being told what it was, that's when I started doing my own research and stuff like that. It was like my senior year, I think I was telling you about this, it was when I started to question things. And I got sent to the principal's office for one of the papers I wrote.
Where I'm going to go next.
Yeah. But that's what we were coming to that conclusion on Friday was that I would vote Democratic if that specific person had, like, say, 70% of my personal beliefs.
Yeah.
Compared to, let's say, 50 on the right side, right?
Yeah.
If I believe for a fact that my personal beliefs were better in the hands of this guy, I'll vote for him.
Yeah.
Even though I personally think
Well,
I'm on the right side, conservative. You know,
I think people put too much of their identity into a collective like group.
yes,
Where people say, "Oh, I'll never be a Democrat." Well, here's the thing: if a Democrat was the version of what the right is now, then I would be a Democrat. You need to, or if there was a Democratic candidate who was more for freedom than a Republican candidate, then I would vote for the one who's more for freedom.
Yes.
If there was a Republican up there saying, we need these regulations to ensure that, these businesses do whatever.
Well, just imagine
a lot of them do.
if we had a Republican candidate who was saying we need to follow the Christian, Judeo-Christian moral law and enforce that upon everybody. I wouldn't vote for that person.
no,
Yeah.
And I'm a Christian. I don't think you should force other people to follow what you believe is right.
yes.
Yep.
I think that's that mistake that people commonly do is they make their personal beliefs their political beliefs.
Yeah, it's...
And I think that's what we all discuss is we're all completely different.
Mm-hmm.
We set aside our personal beliefs for the understanding that that's not how the political system should be run.
Yeah. If it were up to me, You know, like, personally, nobody would use drugs. Nobody would, you know, have premarital sex. Nobody would cheat on their wives or husbands. But you can't force that onto people. That's not the duty of the government. You need to leave it up to people to decide for themselves. You can't force. You can't. Yeah, you can't.
Community that surrounds them.
Well,
You can't force people to do anything.
the thing too is that what if you're wrong? What if somebody else is? Like, everybody thinks they're right. They wouldn't believe what they believe if they didn't think they were right. But you also have to say, what if I'm wrong? And I'm not actually helping people.
I'm not wrong, but...
Well, obviously. Nobody think... Thanks for demonstrating my point.
I'm going to talk about this real quick because I remember when you're talking about public schools, I watched a video just today that John Stossel put out where he was talking about this kid. He was in public schools and he was the rowdy, rambunctious kid, and so, they were suggesting Adderall and Ritalin and stuff, and he, they gave it to him, and his parents were like, "This isn't even our son anymore." You're giving the kid freaking meth.
Yes, the equivalent of meth.
And so, he couldn't do it. He couldn't sit through these lectures. That's just not how he learned. So he went to a private school, which I need to find. I might have the name of it. That this guy set up, and he paid for it by waking up at 3 a.m, going and working at a coffee shop.
Oh yeah, I've seen this.
Mm-hmm.
Working at a coffee shop, so that he could pay the Academy of Thought and Industry. And the way that they would learn, there was no lectures, there was no, anything like that. They would read some material, and then they would discuss it, and they would discuss their opinions on it. They would have a discussion of it. So instead of having one person telling you, this is the way it is, you read, you interpret it for yourself, you all have a discussion about how you interpret the material. And I think that's a big problem with our schools now, is there's no really diversity of thought.
Yeah.
You have to do things this way. He's a ladybug, just leave it alone. You have to do things
on his face.
You have to do things this way. This is the right way. I'm the authority. Listen,
exactly.
You have to listen to me. You have to do what I say. Whereas, and then if you have an idea or something, I know in public schools a lot. For me, as a Christian, I was taught the theory of evolution. And I would have a dissenting opinion, be like, well, I don't believe it's that way because of this, and you just get shut down.
Yeah.
It's that's not how it is. We can't talk about that. And so in this school, people, these kids were learning, especially the kids that couldn't handle the lectures. It's incredibly boring. I slept through half of high school. I was bored the entire time, and still graduated with a 3.95, which goes to show you how crap the school is. Yeah. And these kids, one of the first things they were told to do, the guy was like, "Okay, start a business today," and they had to start a business.
Yeah.
And they all created actual businesses. And one of them, one of the businesses, they were doing something for somebody, and he just fired them all and hired better people for it. And he's like, that's part of the learning process, that's part of its real world application, So instead of just learning all this book knowledge and stuff, these kids were going out to where they either already had a job or had the potential, the skills to know how to start a job or how to start their own business and do their own thing,
Yeah.
It was, I wish I wouldn't be here right now if I'd have gone to that school. I would be running a business or something. But I thought that was great. And you know what? It was a private school,
Yeah.
because the public school system has to follow these strict guidelines, and they get funding based off of their test scores and stuff. And so a lot of times they just inflate people's test scores, and they do all this stuff just to get more funding for the school.
Yeah.
And then you get teachers with tenure who just don't give a crap anymore. Why does a teacher have tenure? That's stupid.
Yeah. And then they unionize.
Yeah, and then they unionize, and then they complain about their wages.
I have a
and
prime
stuff.
example of that. One of the teachers I had was an English teacher. Would never teach us anything. We would just sit in class and read a book. She would just sit there and read a book. And then we would read whatever article or whatever we had to do and write a paper, right?
Yeah.
But she wouldn't even read the papers. Literally, wouldn't even read the papers. So almost all of us, we all had passing grades. And I'm like, so some of us would just throw in like nonchalant, like wording, like mechanisms to see if she would even catch it. Nothing.
Yeah, of course.
It was just
They
no care.
They don't care.
And
then when
Yeah.
when you have teachers with tenure, they cannot fire those teachers. So now you're stuck with that teacher in that school, just perpetuating this horrible teaching,
philosophy.
Yeah,
pretty
and
much.
so, I mean, and then you're stuck, and then like,
Yeah.
how much better could the free market do? Or even like a first step school choice, allowing vouchers for kids to go to different schools, so you don't have to go to the public school that's in your district. Even though I think we should do away with public schools completely and let the free market figure it out. But I think, imagine, already the school I was talking about is a private school. Imagine if there were more of those. The tuition would go down, obviously.
Absolutely. Competition.
Yeah.
Well,
And
you
then
could have
you're going to have schools
on
that are
different things.
Yeah, and they're going to hire teachers who are going to do a good job because they want people's money.
Yeah.
That's why, everyone equates, money with evil and greed and stuff. But that's what allows the free market to work, is people's greed.
Yeah.
Because you, as an individual, have the power of boycott, have the power of choice. If this guy's screwing me over, he's selling hamburgers for $30 a piece, well, I'm going to go to the guy that's selling hamburgers for $10 a piece. And then it's either going to force this guy who's selling them for 30 piece to lower his prices or close. He's going to go out of business if he keeps trying to sell them
Or
for
make a
30 bucks
better
piece.
product.
Or make a better product that's worth it.
How about this? This guy, this baker over here, I'm gay, he won't bake me a wedding cake. Okay, well, I'll go find this baker over here who will bake me a gay wedding cake.
My goodness.
Or
And you know what?
or start your own business right
I'll
next
get
to
all
his.
of my gay friends to go over here and not go to this baker. But guess what? He'll either decide to bake a gay wedding cake, or he'll stick to his guns, and it might end up like Chick-fil-A, where he'll end up with more business.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, too, is that you came to this baker without a cake. You're not losing anything by him not baking you a cake. He, however, he is losing your money by not baking you your gay wedding cake, which has got like rainbow flags and
It's just got 2 dicks instead of people on top. But anyway, I totally lost my train of thought. Got on dicks, and then that's where mine went. And it's stuck there.
got penis on the brain.
Penis on
died
the
right
brain. What was I gonna say? Why did I say?
So we're
dicks?
talking about so selling cakes, right? The analogy
Yes.
of
yes.
going to a competitor.
I got it.
Yep.
Okay. In a free market, you're voting every single day.
Yes.
You're voting with your dollars. You're voting on whether this business stays in operation or not. With your dollars. And if you don't like it, the power of boycott becomes so much more effective.
Yes.
Because with free market, there's going to be more competition, more ease of competition. That's a big thing, too. The deregulation allows ease of competition. So, right now, if I want to open a business, I have to get all these permits, I have to get all, zoning stuff, pay all these fees. I have to pay my employees a minimum wage, so I can only afford to have a certain amount of employees.
Yes.
Even if they were willing to work for less, I can only afford.
You have to match your overhead.
I can only afford.
Yeah.
So now, it's a lot slower start. But then those businesses who are already established and have, Amazon, have these massive, net worth, they have the ability to pay this minimum wage. And guess what they're going to want to do? They're going to want to raise the minimum wage because what it does to me is now, I had 5 employees that I could pay $7 an hour. Now the minimum wage is $15. I'm down to half of my employees. I can have 2, maybe 3 employees, and then I'm losing money. Mm-hmm. And so that's what they want, because then it cuts out their competition, and now you have to go through them. So I don't even know where we started and how we got here, but freedom, not freedom. What do you want?
Personal responsibility. That's what I want.
Yeah, and a lot of it comes down to personal responsibility. A lot of
That's
people,
all I want.
a lot of people.
Well, what's crazy too is that with that business, talking about businesses, when a business is going to die, it dies because it needs to die, because they're not doing what they need to do.
Yeah.
Or
to survive.
Maybe it just is a sucky situation. Your business dies. Businesses die
all the time.
Doesn't matter. Another business will come. Nobody's going to run out of food and stuff.
There was always going to be an alternative that's going to fill the gap.
Yes.
And this is where bailouts.
Yes, GM should have gone out of business.
Terrible.
GM should have gone out of business.
Should have sold.
And then it would have boosted every other car manufacturer out there, and possibly allowed for other manufacturers
like
to start up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like Tesla, for instance.
Yeah.
Tesla picked the wrong time to do the startup.
Can you imagine?
Because that was the worst. Trying to get a loan for Tesla was almost impossible. And then the financial crisis, how much everything cost for them, was ridiculous. I'm surprised that they stayed afloat without ever having to do a bailout.
So I have a question for you guys. At what point does it go from, freedom and still having a government, still having rules and regulations, to anarchy? At what point do you have to stop and say we need some sort of rule? For you, what's for you?
Life and property. When your life and property is at risk, then you need something to step in.
So can you conflate that to mean a federal military?
Or this is a hard thing.
Or are you more of a militia who will?
Because that is a thing, and if we have private military with, can you imagine the weaponry we would have right now?
Oh my goodness, yeah.
If everything was privately done, if all of our...
Yep. I mean, even when you just look at the contractors, their equipment compared to...
And I mean, we know there are people that want to do this, that want this as their job, and if we just decided, hey, I'll pitch in a bit for you to protect us, but then you're you could almost... If you had the right culture, you could almost do it without any rules at all. You could almost function under anarchy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the people would be able to rule themselves, essentially. It would be you have no military. Well, the military is privately funded. Maybe even have a charity and we all willingly pitch in for our protection. You could have a private police force that enforces very simple rules. The only issue is the whole, every now and again you have anomalies. Mm-hmm. You're going to have one person who does some crazy act.
Always.
That screws stuff up. Or you have countries who some random country decides they're going to be.
So on military, you would say private corporations.
I would, yeah.
So for
With
me,
a very non-aggressive.
For me, I think a mix of private and state militias. So state-run militias.
Yeah, so within that.
Where, which I think the U.S. was set up to be. It was a confederation of states. It wasn't really meant to be a solid whole country that was governed from up here.
One
the entire
person.
country governed from one point.
Yeah.
And I really think the federal government was started just to kind of keep it all tied together, to kind of keep ease of trade and stuff between states and stuff. But I think it was supposed to be
before we had the Constitution. There were the Articles of Confederation, and that their problem was that they started, all the states had different currencies. Mm-hmm. And it looked like it does right now over in Europe, where you have these small little countries. That's kind of what the U.S. would have turned into, is a bunch of little separate entities. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so with the Constitution, they tried to unify everybody into a whole country, which I think it can work. But I think for me, a state-run militia that coincides with private security and stuff. So
just another branch. Practically, that's so work aligned together, right?
I don't think there's a need for a federal military. I think the states can handle that, and if the need arises, can kind of join forces and.
That solves issues for vets when they come home. They can join the militia, right? Gives them a sense of purpose still, and so that camaraderie, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, there wouldn't be a military per se.
Yeah.
There would just be militias.
Just militias. Every state has its own little defense, right? That's what you're trying to say?
And I think a kind of conglomeration of...
What would the federal protect? What would...
The federal government would really only be kind of to set major, to keep us using the same currency,
protect our rights,
to keep to defer back to the Constitution as
on each state, every state.
You guys have
would they take care of trade then
freedom
too, from other countries? Would that be the federal or would that be state?
No, I'd leave it to state.
You'd leave it to state?
I'd leave it to state.
I'd leave it to the private entities.
Yeah,
why should they be interfering anymore?
That's a good point. But so the government would be there to say, hey, the states, you have the freedom to make your own legislature and stuff, which we do. But if anything crosses the line and
breaks the Constitution,
in opposition to the Constitution, then the federal government has to step in.
So then you're leaving it states to bring in trade then.
And then you live in a state where, you don't like what's going on.
Then move.
You can move to another one.
Move.
And,
And we're in the best time in American history for travel. You can pack and move
easy.
for this so cheap, dude. I think my parents moved to Florida for under $2,000.
Thank you, private moving companies.
Yeah, we hired a family member that has a semi truck. $2,000 right there. And he has his own private business. So
the other thing that I'd like to talk about on the terms of military is I would like to see.
Want to grab me a beer?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Same here. I would like to see denuclearization as soon as possible. And what I mean by as soon as possible is once we have the ability to defend ourselves, foolproof defense against nukes where we suffer no casualties, I would like us to get rid of all nuclear weapons, because I don't think that the United States should be an aggressor in any war, and we shouldn't get involved in other countries'
I think having
fights.
nuclear warheads is a deterrent. It stops people and makes them second guess themselves for sure and what they're trying to accomplish.
I know. I used to think the same way, but
obviously the end goal was everything would be denuclearized, right? That's the end goal. But in a realistic world, I don't think that's going to happen because there's always going to be another country that has a way different political spectrum than we do that will definitely try to continue that. I know that for a fact.
So that's
all it takes is one person, though, you know?
My biggest...
And I don't want to be the guy that controls other countries, though. I think we should just focus on ourselves and stop getting and interfering in other wars that we have no business of being a part of.
Yeah.
That just causes more.
What?
Did I already put vodka in this?
I don't know.
No, I don't think you did.
I think you put a little bit of water in there.
No, you did. You definitely did.
Drink
Okay.
it. Drink it.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I can
Drink it.
taste
Vodka in there?
There's definitely vodka.
I saw him dumping in there too. I just wanted him to dump more.
I was going to have more too.
That would have been funny. He wouldn't have drank it though.
Yep. So how do we get back then to just a basic of constitutional rights where the federal government is very limited and then the states have control of their own state? How do we get back
I
to
think
that?
it's going to be... You know, I say I ideally, I think it would be a slow process where through
the right legislation that we have.
Legislation and stuff, or de-legislation, I guess.
Yes.
We would bring that about. And then I think the other alternative would be through a civil war eventually if things got bad enough.
Yeah.
I don't foresee that anytime soon.
If the climate keeps rising the way it is with the next 30 years, I could see it.
I think
But
potentially...
I think it's just going to rise and it's going to...
I think potentially there could be secession of states, which I think is a power that is not used enough.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, Texas has done it before. Why don't they be like, "You screw this.
That's the other
We're
thing.
fed
We
up with
talked about
this.
Friday too. The
We're
secession.
out." Yeah.
Alaska, for instance, right? Literally living off their economy just based on.
Yeah. If
you never.
If Alaska secedes, go to Alaska. They have oil money like crazy, and then they wouldn't have the federal regulations stopping them from drilling in Anwar, and they have billions and trillions of more dollars that they could spend. I never brought you your beer. I said it on the couch.
Yeah, no.
But I think I don't know why. Maybe they're hopeful that things will recover.
Well,
but I don't know why secession isn't threatened more.
Yeah.
Why it's not used as a threat more, or even done. Like, I mean, Texas has seceded before and they rejoined the union.
Yeah.
Why would they not?
Well, eternally, how hard would it be in the current state with all
I think
the
what's
technology and stuff
happened,
that we have
right,
in the climate that we are
is
in?
that we're no longer these separate states anymore. You have too many people within your state, like they came from California or they could come from anywhere in the United States, move to your state, and then all of a sudden you've got a different voting base that is determining your state's future.
Yeah.
That's where I don't think that people have enough numbers to make secession work. Now, see, I would disagree with you that you don't see a civil war coming. I'm just kidding. I can see that as a.
It's like, did your balls just fall out? Post production, take it.
I can see civil war happening.
I could see it, but I don't think
we're going to be the ones that start it.
No,
it's going to be.
It's going to be a retaliation on us.
Yeah, I meant within our lifetime. I
think it'll happen within our lifetime.
Yeah.
If not a civil war,
if the climate starts,
it's going to be
continues to rise. All it takes is just one person
with a different.
All it takes is one person to do something.
Well, see, I don't know that. Because what I see happening as an alternative would be, instead of in the current climate of today, I don't know that people would just take up arms against each other. Yeah. I think what would happen is groups of people would be like, well, screw this, I'm done with the U.S. then, and would maybe take over a portion. Maybe that would result in a civil war, but would take over a portion of the U.S. and be like, we're done with you.
Yeah. And
if the U.S. decided to try to quell that or squash that, then maybe, but I don't know. I don't see it happening.
So the civil war I see is not going to be between the people and government. It's going to be people against the people. That's what I see.
But why would they even bother then? If it's people against people, then exactly. They'd be like, you go over there, I go over here, we'll do our separate things. I think what's going to happen is the people controlling the government are going to be the way it would start. Would people controlling the government would be like, we're not going to lose the West. We're going to step in, and you're going to step down.
Yeah.
I think if it was a civil war, it would be the U.S. versus whoever decided to break away.
Yeah.
But I think if states
collectively decided
used their secession power, I think that could stop a civil war. So instead of people just banding together and being like, we're going to start our own country, the state would be like, we're backing out of the union.
We'll figure our stuff out. And then come later on in the years, decide to come back, then absolutely.
If they fix.
You don't think that the federal government would try to step in, though, if a state seceded?
Oh, they absolutely would try.
No, I don't. I don't know that they would start a war over it. I don't know that they would. I don't think they would. Unless there was, acts of aggression against them. I don't think they would. Maybe that's me being optimistic, but
yeah.
And me being pessimistic says, dude, when you feel like, just think about all the tension that's happening right now.
Yeah.
But see, the tension,
I think
it's always been there. It's just with the way we have the internet and media nowadays,
it's louder.
It's louder. And so I think,
but people aren't used to that, so that alone could cause something, right?
That's true.
I'm just thinking,
especially with the multiple generations that we currently do.
We've had one civil war that was fought over. They said it was done for the slavery, right?
Part of it was, yeah.
Right now, we have abortion and the movement against it. We have the immigration stuff.
But what I see different is kind of the Enlightenment, where people are less willing to take up arms. They're more willing to have a discussion and try and solve it through legislative means and stuff.
Yeah.
Back then, that we just got done fighting the revolution. We just fought off Britain. And so we're like, all we know is war. Ready to fight, and they were already, once that happened, well, they were like, we'll just take up arms again, I think we've moved too far where that's not really I don't think a civil war is going to happen in the U.S., and if it does, I think it'll be short and quick.
Oh, absolutely short and quick. I guarantee you that.
Because ultimately, depending on who decides to step aside from the U.S., the amount of power the U.S. has, military power that the U.S. has, unless those people who currently are in the military decided that they weren't going to fight their own people and decided to switch sides. Yeah. If it became a 50-50 split,
then
maybe. But I don't know that it would be a 50-50 split if it happened.
Well, it depends, too, on the circumstances. Like, if a group of states decides to split off and they set up and they just defend probably using unconventional tactics and, like, guerrilla stuff, they'd be able to hold out for quite a while. If they tried to fight head on...
But what's stopping the federal government from just being like, okay, anybody in this state, you have 30 days to get out of the state, we're bombing you.
Yeah.
If you're not part of the resistance, then get out of the state, 30 days, then they just drop bombs on everybody.
Wouldn't that then demonize them and pull more people into the conflict who were on the fence?
Do you see what we do in the Middle East?
Yeah.
We bomb the crap out
People
of them.
join expecting to be a part of that fight. So
I don't know.
I think it goes both ways. I think you
It's
get people that join both sides, though.
Own people.
You know, people are on the fence.
Well, I mean, it would also be who we would have on our side.
Yeah.
Other countries and stuff they would have on our side. We've got Russia on our side.
Yeah.
Collude with Russia.
Hey, talk to us. Hit us up. Twitter. Collude.
Anyway,
No, that's interesting. I mean,
let's kind of get back to what we were talking about, collectivism.
yeah.
Instead of veering off into weird little tangents.
That's what we're good at, though. I mean, that's what...
But collectivism, we got like probably 10 or so minutes left.
Cool.
So I honestly, up until a couple of years ago, I started watching like CRTV and Matt Kibbe. Matt Kibbe was the big influence for me to read Ayn Rand. If you don't know who Ayn Rand is, you should figure out who Ayn Rand is. Not through Google, though, because you'll find all these horrible articles about how terrible she is. Yeah. But instead, find her books and read them.
It's like if you look up J.K. Rowling, you'll get nothing but, J.K. Rowling's the best. You look up Ayn Rand, and everybody's like, screw her.
She came from Soviet Russia post-World War II. So she had experienced the ultimate collectivist mentality. And so her books are all about individualism and how in selfishness as a virtue, which to me, when I heard it, sounded strange. And I was like, especially coming from a Christian background, was like, you're taught to give and to
serve others.
To serve others, yes. And when you start reading her stuff and how she breaks it down, the best way to serve others is to serve yourself. It's kind of what we were talking about with the free market and stuff, how when you look after yourself and you're looking out for yourself, it allows others to be better off, because looking out for yourself, in a way, you have to rely on other people for your business or whatever. And if what's best for you is helping others, there's nothing wrong with that. But altruism for altruism's sake, or forced altruism, is very counterproductive and doesn't work out. I mean,
well, it just creates like a cycle. Because in order to be altruistic, you have to have people who need your help. And if you're to continue being altruistic, you need people who need your help. So you constantly need people who need your help. And this is where we see, like with our welfare program, the welfare program does not encourage people to better themselves. It encourages them to remain where they are and continue gaining benefits for it.
So when I used to be like Republican, like what you would like look at as a the drug war was a good thing, that we needed to stop people from doing this stuff. And then once I started getting into Ayn Rand and this stuff, I started leaning more libertarian, where people are going to make their own decisions, regardless of whether you tell them they can or they cannot. They're going to make their own decisions. So trying to legislate that away is not possible. And people need to take personal responsibility for what they do. You need to act as an individual, and I hate to even call myself a libertarian, because that is ascribing myself to a collective that has a certain stigma about them, a certain view, where people looking in will say, "Oh, well, you have these certain views," and I hate that when I'm debating or having a discussion with somebody, and they assume that I'm going to have a certain viewpoint, so they try to argue against that. We need to look at everybody as an individual having their own viewpoints, having their distinct viewpoints. Just because I say I'm a libertarian, when you look at the Libertarian Party, they're for open borders. I'm not for open borders. I think that is as a lost the word. As a country, that is our right to protect our borders and limit the people who come in.
Yeah.
And screen the people who come in. So even like calling myself a libertarian is ascribing myself to a collective group where, I could just say I'm a libertarian, and then people will have these assumptions. They could already know what I believe. But my beliefs could differ. My beliefs differ from you in certain areas.
Yes.
My beliefs differ from you in certain areas. So, we need to stop grouping people. Everybody makes something like a part of their identity, like their personal identity.
Yes.
These groups are a part of their identity. And that's where you get the people who are willing to vote Democrat regardless of who it is, because their identity is that they're a Democrat.
Yes.
So they are a part of this collective group and will do whatever this collective group tells them to do.
So that's what I like to say to people when they ask like what political side I am. I always say I have like libertarian or Republican conservative views. I don't ever specifically say I am conservative or I am a Republican. I go, I have those views, but I do lean on the left on certain areas. Yeah, like
well, in my
like
personal
spectrum, I could have 20 things here, one thing here, and here. Yeah. Right? That's just my view, though.
And my personal beliefs don't necessarily reflect my political beliefs.
That's exactly where we agree on that one.
And I think too many people try to push their personal. It's all combined.
It's together, and then that's how they push it out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just combined together. Yeah.
Which is because if I had my personal beliefs on everything, our world would be fucked. Like, U.S. would suck, dude.
It's like, you must believe this thing.
There's no laws, but rule law or law one.
Well, that's what's so disgusting about people at the top who believe that way is they think they know better than you.
Us. Absolutely.
They think that what they believe should be inflicted upon everybody.
Obama, remember?
Yes.
That video yesterday
where he said, he said something that was so disturbing.
They think you're too stupid to think for yourself.
That's literally
and
what
come
Obama
to
said.
the right conclusion that they have to tell you what the right conclusion is.
People have to understand that they do not know what's best for themselves, so they have to concede to a higher power.
That's
literally like
so insulting.
Dude.
It is incredibly insulting.
It's terrible.
It's ridiculous. It ticks me off if somebody tries to tell me that I should do a certain thing just because of some stance they have.
They think it's right.
They think it's right.
Yeah.
So then it comes down to what do you base right and wrong on? So the base morals we have.
I use mine on personal experiences.
But what do we allow the federal government to enforce as base like moral
I think it's
rules?
the whole the actual state's courts to part.
Well, I think it's
you know,
the right. You have the right to life.
Yeah.
You have the right to property,
liberty,
and
then,
and the pursuit of happiness.
Yes.
So the ability, the American dream to be able to come in, the freedom to start your business how you want, run it how you want. But I think that's where my shirt's a great example. Don't hurt people. Don't take their stuff.
Yeah.
That's like all you need.
That's literally the next topic I want to talk about too for the next maybe minute, since we're pretty close to the hour. The Ben Shapiro book that I just started reading, dude. Literally.
Was it called The Right Side of History?
Yeah, The Right Side of History. Yeah, it's amazing so far. I'm only
he just put it out.
I'm only 2 chapters in, dude, and like I said, I couldn't put it down the first night, even though I had to go to bed.
Yeah.
Like, I stayed up till 7 in the morning, dude, just reading that thing after playing Xbox with Curtis. I think you might have been playing too, but no, it just he brings out almost every religion and a part of that religion that he agrees with, right?
Hey, here, let's listen to this real quick.
And for the international order that we have worked for generations to build. Ordinary men and women are too small-minded to govern their own affairs. That order and progress can only come when individuals surrender their rights to an all-powerful sovereign.
There you go.
Oh my
So listen, like my goal.
gosh, I'd never heard that.
Yeah.
That's insane.
How did we not know that?
That's insane.
They hid that so well, dude. I don't even know that.
Nuts.
And I'm not gonna lie, like in high school, right out of high school, I would say I was like 60% with Obama, right? I agreed with like a lot of his stuff. That was because I was just coming out of high school, right? That was my mentality. It's like, oh, he's a great president. And then I hear that shit. It's like, are you fucking kidding me?
That's insane. The people are small-minded. I mean, it's literally what we said. You don't know what's best for you.
So you have to
sovereign
your rights.
The sovereign, all-knowing government knows what's best for you. But what is the government run by? It's run by infallible humans.
Yes.
Unless we had a theocracy that was run by God.
Fallible humans.
Yes, fallible humans. Yes, fallible humans. Unless we had a theocracy run by God where he's dictating what we do.
Yeah.
That's the only scenario where that's okay. But given what we have where, it's a Republican democracy, or Democratic Republic, better way to put it, the real way to put it,
Constitutional Republic.
You have people running the government who are just people. They don't know better than you or I. That's why you need to look at your representatives and your senators. They work for you. They work for you and me.
Yes.
They are not these, they almost are viewed as celebrities sometimes. Where, you can't, they know what's best for the state. No, they're supposed to do what the majority of the state wants them to do. That's why they're called a representative. They represent the state.
Look at everything that's going on around Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. There's a lot of stuff where people are actually criticizing her policy. There's also a lot of stuff where people are making these comparisons to other things, like her black voice thing that she did. And honestly,
ain't nothing wrong with working as a trucker or washing clothes. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Folding clothes.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. You black people keep doing that. We ain't gonna hold that against you. But I don't even know what accent I've gone into.
It was like,
southern country, southern black guy, black woman. Sorry,
Mama, Big Mama,
Big Mama,
Big Mama. Accent.
But yes, it was condescending and stupid of her.
Pretty funny.
Yeah,
you
it's
should look
funny.
it up if you
And then
want.
she tried to back it up, and then she doubled down on why she did it.
Doubled down hard.
She doubled down on why she did it.
Coming from
Brooklyn.
Bronx, you have to, you're exposed to those different types of people, and you have to be able to,
jump
talk in their lingo.
What do they call it? Code switching or something?
Yeah, it's freaking
some weird
stupid.
name. Whatever.
Look, if I ever start talking in an accent to try to appease you, please hit me. If I'm talking in an accent to make fun of you, please don't hit me.
Because it's funny.
Or hit me, I'll hit you back.
So
I would, actually, I would appreciate it if you hit me, because then I can hit you back with no repercussions. So.
But
Yep.
there is a lot of truth to this Democrat-pushed notion that the Republicans are obsessed with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Yeah.
Because every time something happens, they go nuts on it about things that don't matter. Like, Republicans are not supposed to care about the identity politics stuff. So why are they commenting on Black Voice?
Yeah.
Republicans are not supposed to matter about the Me Too movement. Why are they commenting on... I mean, that's... When you're making a joke, it's funny. But why are you... The hypocrisy... The hypocrisy is exposed without you
Caleb.
exposing it.
Joe Biden's a pedophile.
Joe Biden handshake, ready? Love it.
The Biden cut.
That's the Freedom Owners handshake.
The freedom.
L'Oreal. Kid strawberry.
Freedom
Don't date until you're 30.
Yeah, I need
Unless
to
it's
continue
me.
to find some time to continue reading that book, man. Staying up late playing Xbox with you guys doesn't give me time to read.
Well, don't stay up playing Xbox.
I have
Bob.
too much fun, dude. Especially what we're playing, dude. I get caught up in the time because you go do one. You're like, let's go do this, and then you get sidetracked, and you do 20 other things. Like, man, I didn't even get those ender eyes yet. Like, yeah,
I found the stronghold, by the way.
yeah,
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Was it far?
no,
it's
not
pretty
far at all.
Yeah, so you get this tribalistic. Bring it back.
Bring it back to square one. Full
You get-
circle.
Into
Taking it home.
the Democrats and the Republicans, they both get this
Home run.
tribalistic mentality where they attack everyone on the other side without actually delving in to what matters.
Well, what's interesting is if you're designated to one side or the other, when you try to have a discussion with somebody, they're always just assuming your position based on the side you're associated with, the party you're associated with. So nobody's actually discussing what they believe. They're just arguing topics that their party has come out and said, how they feel about.
It's really creepy, honestly.
It's
like
stupid.
you don't have any mental faculty of your own. You just have to repeat things that you've been told. Think for yourself.
It's like a game of telephone.
So,
They get told it, so they tell it to the
in
next person.
conclusion,
That's all they know.
to end this podcast out, be an individual, don't ascribe to a collective, think for yourself.
Be yourself.
Don't grope children.
Don't grope children.
Freedom, Broners!
Included.
Hey, did you enjoy that debacle? If so, consider supporting us on Subscribestar.
We're not going to lie to you. The money will probably go towards more beer.
But that is an essential for the creative process.